Hello and welcome to today's video. So in today's video, it's all about how to be more productive in your life. Productivity is not about doing more, it's about making use of your time. In order to be effective, you need to have a good system in place. Tip number 1 is do an admin day. Set aside time for organization. Choose a specific time and day during the week when you create your to-do lists. So where you have a time slot of 1 to 2 hours each week on a certain day to review your week, put things in your calendar, mark off any unnecessary tasks from your to-do list. I take, for instance, a look at my to-dos for the next day, for the upcoming weeks, and prioritize so I can start the week fresh and not having to look at what I need to do first thing in the morning. This allows you to have a mental picture of what needs to be done. You get yourself prepared for the next day and stay on top of things. I personally think Sunday is a good day for it. So you can then start off the new week with a fresh start. Tip number 2 is brain dumping. I write everything down. I'm just so forgetful. Keep things out of your head. I always take notes, just to-dos, reminders, ideas, projects you want to do, everything really. Whatever really is in your mind that occupies your mind and you need to just get it out of your mind. I usually just use my phone and use the Notes app as I always have it near me. And that's the easiest way of doing it for me personally. Just use what's easiest for you. It might be for you your diary. And later on then you can worry about organizing that information. Which brings me to my next tip. Build a system that you can trust. Consider what you need to do to get organized. There are so many systems and apps. You just really need to test out what works best for you. The next tip is to visualize and take action. Create a real schedule that you can look at. I find that if I have a schedule, something that I can see and tick off, it registers better in my brain rather than me trying to remember it later. So whether that means using a planner or a bullet journal or a digital app, whatever works for you. I've used all various methods in the past and currently I use Trello and I'm stuck with it. I love it. Because I love bullet journaling and it's a digital version of bullet journaling, I find. It's such an efficient digital organization tool. It's become my go-to for managing projects, my to-do lists, meal planning, shopping lists, cleaning lists. I use it both for my personal to-do lists. I use it to organize my YouTube planning, editing, and as well as my work projects. And on top of that, I use it to keep track of my goals. The next tip is time your tasks. Tasks are easier to do when you know there's an ending to them. Working on a task for 45 minutes is much more manageable. It helps you to focus because you know there's the ending. Otherwise, I might get distracted and end up taking much longer for a task. You're much more fast and you get more done because you know you only have to do this for 45 minutes. Set a timer for your task, whether that's 10 minutes, 45 minutes or 2 hours, depending on what you need to get done. The next tip is batch process. Batch similar tasks together where you can. Take a look at your lists and find ways to put smaller tasks together. This saves time and cuts down on interruption. Put all similar tasks together. For work, you could batch process all phone calls into 1 hour, batch process emails into 1 hour period, batch process paperwork, etc. I try not to switch from one task to another, and I try also not to have too many tabs open. I'm guilty of that most of the time, but it's something I'm still working on. Stop committing your future self to tasks. I think a lot of us, or maybe it's just me doing that, but I think we view our future selves as superhumans that can get 100,000 things done all at once. It's really easy to say in the present, I will do this and that then. But what you don't realize, you in the future is you now. And you're kind of putting a lot on your future self when you don't know what else you will have on your plate in the future. So it's really important to stay realistic when setting future goals. The next tip is listen to a focus playlist. Listen to an instrumental playlist. Spotify has lots of playlists for concentration and focus. I find that this sometimes really helps me to focus on my work. It's just background music without any words and it really helps me to zone in. My next tip is to meal prep. Plan your meals ahead of time. It's going to cut down on the amount of time that you have to use to find a recipe, buy the groceries, and then cook. Do your meal prep and your big batch cooking on the weekend. Ideally, if you have the time on a Sunday. The next step is to prioritize your tasks. Every day I choose 3 top main priority tasks that I really need to get done on that day. Sometimes you have obviously more to do, sometimes you have less, but the main point is it helps to prioritize. And not only does it help me to keep my goals and to-do lists reasonable, in the past I used to jam too many to-dos in my day, and then I was disappointed at the end of the day that I did not do all the things that I wanted to do. But focusing on your main tasks helps you to reduce your stress, especially if you have a big workload and you don't get as easily overwhelmed. And that's definitely something that helped me immensely over the years. Done is better than perfect. This is a lesson I really had to learn over the years. Perfectionism can really ruin your creativity and your productivity. Because sometimes you're just so focused on getting the little details right, and then you lose sight of the bigger picture.